I closed my Etsy store last week after 1 year, 50 sales, and about $7,000 generated, and in this video I want to talk about why and what I'm doing instead. I think Etsy's dying, and I wholeheartedly recommend that you avoid the platform at all costs and just opt for something else. I'm Mark, and I've been selling digital products to photographers for more than a year. Back in 2023, I launched this shop, and I've been documenting my journey with the occasional monthly updates. Now look, there are lots of Etsy sellers making a killing on this platform, and while finance gurus claim that it's easy, you have to put in consistent work into it every single day. But even if you put in the consistent work, there are so many red flags that I personally as a seller experienced over the past year that I can no longer simply just ignore.
With discretionary spending down, a first quarter 2024 miss in both merchandise sales and profits, and an acknowledgement of poor execution by its CEO, Etsy's future is uncertain.
First of all, you have no control over your income. Etsy can place a 75% hold on your money at any point. If you have a sudden increase in income, a sudden increase in refunds, or you're just a new shop, Etsy can apply a payment reserve on your account. For example, I went an entire 2 weeks without making a single sale. Then, on one day, I sold about 3 website templates and made $1,200 in a single day. Now Etsy, they saw this as a red flag, and they placed a 75% payment reserve on my account for a total duration of 10 days until they conducted their review. Etsy's whole stance on the payment reserves thing is that they keep the marketplace safe and they cover any potential refunds to customers in case of disputes. But there was a very disturbing theory going around recently that Etsy are applying these payment reserves to withhold money that they eventually use for their own cash flow until they pay you back. And considering the fact that there's an active indie sellers guild who are looking into the possibility of suing Etsy for this exact payment reserve policy, it's probably not out of the question. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that people are looking into lawsuits against Etsy. I mean, just last year in the UK, there was a seller's boycott because Etsy applied 75% payment reserve on multiple sellers' accounts for 45 days, which is just absolutely nuts. Now think about this for a second. I mean, Etsy doing this is basically the equivalent of you starting a business and renting a store in a shopping mall, and the shopping mall coming to you one day and saying, "Oh dang, you had so many customers today. That's suspicious. We'll just park your money for a while until we figure out how you did that and why." Now, to be clear, a payment reserve isn't something new. Amazon is doing it as well, but they don't reserve 75% of your income. They mainly keep 3%, and that's only in case of any disputes raised by customers. The second red flag for me was an incompetent ad system. Now, most ad platforms such as Meta allow you to choose who you want to advertise to based on a bunch of factors such as gender, time of day, occupation, interests, and so on. So for example, for my business, I am mainly wanting to target women between the ages of 22 and 35 who work in the field of photography. And I would want my ads to run between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. because I assume that's when most of the photographers are online. But unfortunately, Etsy doesn't allow running targeted ads. You just simply set a daily budget and hope that they won't deplete it by showing it to a completely irrelevant audience. And I'm sorry to say this, but ads on Etsy are just another gimmick for them to make money, just in case all the fees that you're paying already isn't enough. While ads were working for me in the beginning to kickstart my shop, I was losing more and more money as time went on. To give you some context, my conversion rate with ads on was 0.8%. That means that out of all the customers who checked out my shop and clicked on the listings, only 0.8% actually purchased what I was selling. When I turned off the ads, my organic conversion rate was 4.32%. So quite clearly, Etsy ads are not working, they're not reaching the relevant audience, and if you keep them on for long enough, you're gonna eventually burn through your budget. Now, just if you think that I'm blowing this out of proportion, I also run a wedding photography business, and I have a Facebook and an Instagram page for it. And using Meta's advertising system, I can target couples that are engaged in a certain age category, in a certain location, wherever I want to choose to photograph. Now, with that being said, with my web design agency, going down the route of building a website and running all the marketing separately would have been extremely time consuming, so I opted for a different solution instead, which in my case was Kartra. Kartra is an all-in-one platform. You can basically build a landing page, you can list your products, and sell your products to your customers through a personalized checkout system. You don't need to pay a subscription to build a website, pay another subscription to run email marketing, pay for a separate checkout solution provider. You have everything in one place under one subscription. Now, how it works is if you're trying to sell a digital product like me, using Kartra, you can build a customized landing page using just a simple drag and drop interface and just upload your product. From here, you can create multi-step funnels designed to guide leads through the buying process. If the lead is sold on your product, they can buy it directly from your page. No more setting up Shopify accounts or looking for third-party solutions. Kartra works with multiple payment gateways such as Stripe and PayPal, and once the customer buys your product, the money hits your account, no fees deducted. You don't even need a separate email provider. If you wish to message customers, Kartra has a built-in mail system that lets you send personalized emails, track customer engagement, and even automate certain email functions. Kartra also works if, for example, you're selling any courses, hosting any webinars, or selling memberships. It's particularly good with memberships because it does most of the heavy lifting for you, from membership management to moderation and even automated email notifications. If, like me, sometimes you have a writer's block and you're stuck on a blank page, Kartra has an AI writing assistant that understands your brand voice and your audience preferences, and it can generate written content for you in different languages and tones. If you'd like to give Kartra a shot, you can use my link in the description or displayed on the screen, and with the promo code MARKON, you get a 30-day free trial and 30% off your first month after your trial ends. Thank you so much, Kartra, for sponsoring this video. Now, going back to Etsy, the third red flag for me, especially with all the talk of keeping the marketplace safe and going back to their artisan roots, was their doubling down on allowing and outright promoting the sale of AI-generated products. I mean, look, Etsy stopped enforcing their handmade, vintage, and craft supply policy a long time ago, but actually promoting AI-generated products is a different kind of ballgame. They faced a lot of backlash for this recent policy shift from creatives, and to be honest, they're right. Handcrafted items are being buried under a sea of AI-generated products.
Competing with people who are generating art via artificial intelligence now, I can't compete. It's just junk, a lot of it.
You're just going to be a slightly more expensive Amazon? That seems like a terrible business plan.
And sure, while at the moment real art is considerably better than AI-generated images, at some point technology is gonna catch on. And this recent policy change is super confusing, by the way, because if you've been following my channel, you know that I tried to sell AI art on Etsy before, once digitally and once as print on demand. And even though I made almost no money at all with both shops, Etsy still closed them down because I wasn't selling handcrafted products. But in any case, I mean, the main competitive advantage that Etsy always had was that it placed your products in front of millions of consumers without you having to run around trying to find your audience. But now their marketplace is becoming so saturated with AI products, and if you combine that with a very outdated ad system, your products, your services have a minimal chance to reach the right audience. You can read through multiple case studies and Reddit posts to see just how much sellers are struggling to make money in this new world that Etsy built. The fourth red flag is just a garbage customer service. Now look, marketplaces change, policies change, algorithms change. Sometimes companies have no control over that, but one thing that they do have control over is the customer service. Well, Etsy's customer support has never been good to begin with, but it's gotten worse and worse as the years went on.
Don't shut down my shop without letting me talk to a person. Don't issue a refund to a buyer without getting proof that it was damaged.
And I think that they know just how bad it is because you cannot find a link to their chat support on their website. You'd literally have to go through Reddit and look through posts just to find the damn link. And even if you do reach their customer support sometime, I mean, it's just so bad. I've had instances where I got my shop suspended, I filed an appeal. They got reactivated for no reason out of the blue with zero communication from Etsy in between. They'll say that your account is permanently suspended only to be reactivated a couple of days later. And it's actually so rare to find an actual human being you can talk to at Etsy. Most of their replies are just automated templates. And to be honest, I'm starting to understand why, because back in December 2023, Etsy laid off about 11% of their workforce, which was the equivalent about 225 employees. So it's really no surprise that there's not so many customer service representatives working there. And here comes the final nail in the coffin, which is random suspensions. Now you might argue that there's no such thing as a random suspension. Surely, Etsy suspends shops due to policy violations. But actually there are cases where the system wrongly flags your shop as violating their policies. It's happened to me in the past, it's happened to multiple other people, it's happening right now to other sellers, and if you couple that with a terrible customer service that replies after weeks, you could be looking at weeks to months with no income from the platform through absolutely no fault of your own. And in one of the instances where it happened to me, I think it was because I moved to a different country. My bank account, which was under my Etsy account, remained active in the country I was before, and that's because I still had business activities going on there. And since I was logging in from another country while the bank account was in a different one, Etsy saw that as a red flag and applied a permanent suspension on my shop. But strangely, the reason for the suspension wasn't given. As I said, this was my suspicion, and that's because Etsy doesn't communicate why your shop is suspended. And that's mostly to protect themselves, because if Etsy give you a reason for the suspension, they just open themselves up to liability. Which is why if you search on Google for "I got suspended by Etsy," most of those sentences are completed with "I have no reason why" or "no reason was given." Now, it's quite a shame that Etsy is becoming a shell of its former self, because it used to be a really good platform with a consistent algorithm, but now it's just becoming outdated and irrelevant, and I suspect that's why most of the sellers are leaving to other platforms and why their stock fell so hard in the past couple of years and is currently at its lowest point. Anyways, this was just my experience with Etsy over the past year. I've personally moved on now, but would love to hear your journey as well. Hopefully it's a more positive one. If you have different thoughts related to the platform, please do share in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys as always, and I'll catch you on the next one.